My name is Cyrus Tabibnia. I'm a criminal defense attorney. For the last 15 years, I've worked hard to help people like you overcome charges involving allegations of domestic violence. If you've been brought up on a domestic violence charge, time is of the essence. Call us. We provide a free consultation. During that consultation, we will provide you with information and feedback, what your options are, what strategies can be pursued, and the like. In domestic violence type cases, especially due to the O.J. Simpson case of 25 years ago, police tend to be much more likely to arrest first and possibly ask questions later, so to speak. As a result, I do see a lot of cases where somebody who seems innocent or might even be innocent has been arrested improperly. That's why it's important to obtain a lawyer quickly, because a lawyer would be able to obtain any fresh evidence or any evidence right away and begin the investigative process that is necessary to protecting your rights. Being charged with domestic violence or domestic battery can bring about a lot of stress, anxiety, worry, fear, because let's face it, there are potentially a lot of consequences. You can face deportation if you don't have legal status here. You can face job loss, social humiliation on some level. You can potentially face divorce. And that's why it's important to us to look at these cases seriously, but in a way that's sensitive to the needs of the client, and aggressively to ensure that everything is done to prove the client's innocence. And in addition, explain our client's situation and realities to the prosecution, because very often, as I've said many times before, people who get charged with crimes are very often become dehumanized in the system. And we go out of our way to also humanize our clients to the prosecution. Understand where you're coming from, what you're going through, how we can bring about the best disposition we possibly can. Very often I keep in touch with my clients after they're no longer clients. I will call them and say, how's life? Is everything okay? How are you doing? Because we genuinely do. I know it sounds cliche, but we do care about our clients and their well-being. Many of them, most of them are very good people. Domestic violence and domestic type crimes are not black and white. Very often, two people in a relationship have an argument and there are no witnesses to say what happened, and the police make a determination, sometimes almost arbitrarily, as to who was at fault. In a lot of the cases that I've looked at, it's just basically a man's word against a woman's word, or a man and man, or woman and woman. And it's very difficult to ascertain who is at fault, and the police sometimes just determine based upon their own sense who is at fault, and very often they're wrong about that. I can certainly provide an example of a case I recently had. A very nice young man, and frankly, a lot of my clients, whether they're guilty or innocent, are very nice people. We're all under a lot of pressure. We all have bills to pay. We all have bosses or employees who put pressure on us. But in this case, this was a young man who's unusually hardworking. I mean, literally, he was working 70 hours a week as a security guard. He had 3 different jobs. His girlfriend and him had a lot of issues going back and forth. You're working 70 hours a week, and he was a security guard, meaning he was barely making ends meet. And he's coming home, and something happens. He punches a wall, doesn't hurt anybody, and his girlfriend/wife, who tended to be very critical of him in general, starts being critical again at 11 p.m. at night when he's exhausted, when he hasn't had sleep in a couple of days. And so there was a reaction shown. I'm not sure who initiated it, but I think it's a circumstance that any human being, any man or woman could understand, whether this is not a bad person, even if he did do something bad under those circumstances. Again, we're not sure. But it's a human being who may have made a mistake given the pressures that he was facing in life. And I think we've all been there. And the question is, as a society, is it right to punish people and undermine their lives further based upon one mistake they may have made because they were having a bad night, they were under pressure, they were being repeatedly provoked by their boyfriend or girlfriend, and they responded in a way that they shouldn't have? But does that mean that they deserve to be deported or lose their job? If he was convicted, he would have lost his job. And again, he wasn't being paid much at that job. What would have happened if he lost his job and had such a record of domestic violence? The case was ultimately dismissed for lack of evidence. We will do everything we can in conjunction with our clients to obtain letters, character letters, from priests, from friends, from people who they've worked with, volunteer services they've provided. These things can make a difference in lowering a felony to a misdemeanor. There are certain laws in place that allow even felony convictions later on to be lowered to misdemeanors. Possibly this is outside the purview of this particular conversation we're having. But we've been successful many, many times in lowering potential felony charges to misdemeanors as the case has gone forward, and sometimes a non-prison or non-incarceration conclusion instead of incarceration. The options can be that the person does parenting classes in lieu of incarceration. Sometimes this is possible. Or community service or community labor. Incarceration can trigger immigration issues. If the person does not have their papers, incarceration can lead to ICE getting the defendant, our client, and trying to deport them. So under those circumstances, we will do everything we can to not allow incarceration to take place. So please, if you've been charged with domestic violence, contact the Tabibnia Law Firm. We will do everything to explain the nature of the law to you, expound upon strategies that we would use to fight the case, and generally inform our clients and potential clients about what they face and how we may go about fighting the charges against them. Thank you so much.